Peace be upon you, and welcome to this second episode of the happiness course that I'm doing here. I want to do a quick intro, try to get through oh, as minimum of the important info I need so you know what's going on. So first of all, I'd like to say I'm here in Jordan. I feel really lucky to be here, so I couldn't miss that fact out here. The weather's beautiful at night time, so it's 9 o'clock right now. Jordan, by the way, is in the Middle East. This is my in-laws place. I used to live here and help grow a lot of this. I am very proud of, not really proud, I'm not sure if the right word is proud, but I'm very excited about this whole thing. This is one of the things I loved about Jordan, this kind of outdoor sitting room. Promise I won't go on about it too much. The outdoor sitting room with the grapevines as a roof and stuff like that, so it's pretty awesome. Yep, so that's that. I explained, you're going to hear lots of cool stuff in the background as well, so that is the call to prayer. You can hear it from all the different mosques around. Absolutely beautiful if you're here. So many people who are not Muslims are mesmerized by this. It's almost like literally has been life-changing for people just to hear this beautiful ancient sound of 1500 years, the same words to call people to the mosque to pray together. Anyway, let's get on with it. I explained in the first episode that this course is based on the teachings of Islam. Islam is best suited for this course because of its unique qualities. It's the only non-tribal religion, for example, according to the founders of religions themselves. So you might be surprised by that. So, for example, Jesus many times said, "I've only come to talk to the Jews." And after he died, people started making up things like he's God and he came to preach to the whole world, which is completely wrong. So being non-tribal, being an international religion, it's very inclusive of people. Even if you don't follow Islam, it's very inclusive. It says you can still go to heaven, for example, if you're not a Muslim. That's a very rare trait for a religion. Anyway, it's also very rare that a religion is in line with science, which is 100% true of Islam. Islam is ahead of science. It talked about the expansion of the universe well before Einstein agreed with this idea. So, and it's the most comprehensive. It has answers for everything. So that's kind of a summary of lesson one. Please do check out bigquestionsanswer.com for lesson one. The happiness course is split into 33 sections, but if you just understand the first 11, you will know all the basics to be happy. Details of those 33 lessons, as I say, are at bigquestionsanswer.com. Go check out the description below if you want the exact link and everything. A summary of every lesson that I'm going to give, like what I'm basically reading right now, is in the text summary for each lesson. So if you go to the first page, the main homepage at bigquestionsanswer.com, you've got all the lessons. And before I even do the show, you have a text summary of what I'm going to say. So you could think about it and think of questions that you might have for me. Even feel free to disagree with me, you know. The text summary is a summary. It's only a short version. In fact, I'm trying to keep it short, and it's actually quite hard to make things shorter than it's easier to make it longer, you know. Then you don't have to think about how am I going to summarize this. So anyway, the point is it's a summary. There's loads of things I'm missing out. Please do ask questions. Please feel free to disagree. I don't get upset, you know. I actually have been encouraging people to disagree with me because then they come up with way of thinking that maybe I missed out or I just didn't find a way to squeeze into the text. So the basic summary, which I'm going to read out before I, answer questions. In fact, I'll answer questions all throughout. Anyway, so yeah, this intro is taking way too long. So maybe I'll just get on with it. So yeah, ask questions. There is one last thing I'm going to squeeze in really quickly. So I get feedback in different ways. One of my cousins said, "Oh, I think this show is for." I got the sense, she didn't exactly say this. I got the sense that she thought this show is for shy people or maybe weak-minded people, possibly, or people who are just depressed. And it's pretty much the opposite of that. This is for a very select few people who are leaders, because this show doesn't play to the usual popularity game of being rude to other people, or being against somebody, because that people are tribal, and tribal means they like to be against somebody, and they like to somebody to support their team and things like that. It's not really about being against anything. It's just like, this is the answer to questions. It's deep, it's complicated, and therefore won't be for everybody. And that's fine, because the world always changes according to a few people, and then other people follow anyway. So that's my quick intro. Let's get on with it. So this show, or this episode, or this lesson is called Reality. We need very little to be happy. That's the title. Reality, we need very little to be happy. And that's what I'm going to talk about. That's so important. So first section of this lesson is called wants. It's different to needs. Okay, the first thing you must do if you want to be happy is to realize you have built up many illusions about what you need to be happy. God warns us about these never-ending illusions in the Holy Quran, and he says, "And as to those who disbelieve, their deeds are like a mirage in a desert. The thirsty one thinks it to be water until, when he comes up to it, he finds it nothing." So he's describing what you normally experience in a mirage. So it's in the distance, you arrive there, and it's not there. And it's an apt description of basically materialism. So God explains here that those who choose to give importance to things that we can buy, or materialism, rather than God and spirituality, such people think they will be happy when they get the object of their fantasies. But when they finally get it, be it a house, adoration, certain number of views on your social media, the love of a good looking person, or lots of money, they will find it to be nothing. So you chase these things that you think will make you happy, but when you get it, you realize it's just nothing. I remember Russell Brand saying about he was famous for having the most, you know, relationships with women, and he said it was like ash. That was his description. So basically nothing good. Okay. Um, but when, yeah, so let me see, where am I? Yeah. Their thirst for happiness through things they can buy will never be quenched. All their selfish deeds will have the same result. As such, they will fall into a constant cycle of chasing things, being disappointed, and then chasing something else. So what's the alternative to accept the true nature of what makes us happy, which itself is based on the true nature of reality, that everything is pointless unless it is to be at one with God. To be at one with God, we must let go of egotistical choices and instead do good. So that's a very quick summary of what you need to do to be happy, but I'm going to go into more details in the following chapter. So the next chapter is Traveler. It is said that when you travel to a new country, it is like being a child on caffeine. Your eyes are open to what others take for granted. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Be in this world as if you are a stranger or a traveler." The example of this world and myself, Prophet Muhammad says, is that of a rider who seeks shade under a tree, then he moves on and leaves it behind. So, explaining those quotes, chasing comfort is like a never-ending delusion, which means all you really do in life is make money if you're chasing comfort. Don't be a slave to money until you die. That's a quote from The Verve, by the way. Uh, Live simply. If you want to be happy every day, see yourself as a traveler on an amazing planet called Earth. As you get older, you will see time flies, and the realization will begin to dawn on you that it won't be long before your stay on Earth must end. Opening your eyes to the fact that we are only here for a short time makes you appreciate every day of our lives. Prophet Muhammad said, what did he say? If you wake up in the morning, do not expect to live until the evening. If you go to sleep at night, do not expect to wake up in the morning. I find, as I get uncomfortable, I feel life more. As I write this, when I wrote this rather, uh, we have little water, that is my family, in a desert land where I am right now. It is extremely hot, yet we are sitting together appreciating what we have, plums from a cousin's house. In fact, psychologists are now finding that avoiding any discomfort and a lack of direction is causing massive drug addiction, like generally in the West, and not to one person. More people are taking drugs, are on antidepressants, or are simply eating to avoid thinking about their lives. A little pain is fun if you know what your life is about. I seek pain, otherwise I'm disappointed in my day. So if I'm not really pushing myself, basically, I feel disappointed. Um, Next chapter is called Good. By the way, I should scroll down. I forgot to check the comments. No comments so far. That's cool. Okay. Um, by the way, I don't mind if there's no comments. I think it's quite a hard topic to ask questions about, but I do appreciate people who watch and hopefully you're learning something. Um, so yeah, good is the next chapter. We often collect so many things, yet we are not happy. That is because it is not the things that make us happy, but our feelings towards them. Your soul is what you feel happiness through. When your body experiences anything, it is the intention that causes that experience to be a happy one or a sad one. For example, if you are studying for a subject you like, you will enjoy studying it, I suppose, even if it is difficult. But if you hate the subject, you'll hate studying it. A quote um, from the Quran. Looks like I missed that part of the writing in the summary. Whosoever follows the guidance follows it for the good of their own soul, and whosoever does something bad only hurts their own soul. God teaches us to do good things for our own good. It is by doing good actions that our souls feel happy, and bad actions ruin that happiness. We might think that we feel happy by doing bad things, but it is only a short term feeling, which is followed by more sadness than the little happiness you gained. We know this is true, as there is a well known question that is asked of someone who lives a bad life. They are asked, how do you sleep at night? This is because we know that people who live bad lives do not have inner peace and therefore struggle to sleep comfortably at night. Next chapter, boredom. Most of us are bored because as we grow up, we do not upgrade our hobbies to more meaningful things than play computer games or watch TikTok videos. Meaning comes from doing good things for free. God advises in the Holy Quran, and everyone has a goal which dominates them. Compete and work together then with one another in good works. Each one of us, that's end of quote, each one of us has a story in our heads about who we are. What is our mission in life? If that goal that dominates your life is to be good and help others to be good, we will see ourselves as good people and we will be excited about our lives every day. When we have a purpose and we when we have a purpose and we are excited, we do not need. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm just reading, seeing if my sentence was correctly written. I do write this in a rush. When we have a purpose and we are excited, I suppose we're going to be excited if we have a purpose, and a good purpose that is. We do not need to spend lots of money to compensate for our emptiness. Doing good can be cheap, like lending an ear to someone who needs to share their problems. Next chapter, God. It has been shown that there is no such thing as an atheist. Some may claim to be atheists, but the subconscious calls their bluff. In an experiment, atheists were shown to produce an involuntary nervous reaction when challenged to ask God to hurt them or their loved ones. Nobody really believes that the amazing machinery called the water cycle or the multitude of other miracles that sustain our lives have been set up by luck. In the Holy Quran, God tells of a figurative conversation with our blueprint, that is our design, that testifies to God's existence. God asks each human being, "Am I not your Lord?" And each human being says, "Yes, we do bear witness." It is difficult to be happy without the realization of God. Atheists report being far less happy than believers in God. This should not be surprising, as psychologists tell us that meaning is core to our needs, and without God, life is meaningless. It has been shown that we have a need to be connected with nature, otherwise, we get depressed. What is the nature of the attraction towards nature? Probably improve that sentence. What is the nature of our attraction towards nature? Um, Let me quote, "It is a reflection of the attraction that is inherent in man's nature towards God, as if he is in search of something that he misses, the name of which he has forgotten, and which he seeks to find in one thing or another, which he takes up from time to time," says Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the promised Messiah, promised reformer of our time. In short, if you are an atheist, then you make being happy really hard for yourself. If you like to be happy instantly, follow the advice in the Holy Quran. Most definitely, quote, I should say, quote, most definitely, it is in the remembrance of Allah, that is God, that hearts can find comfort. Simply, end of quote, simply thinking about God, the sustainer of our world, can bring comfort to you. Another chapter, fear. The more we depend on things we buy for our happiness, the more those things own us. We begin to fear losing those things instead of enjoying our lives. This is an easy trap to fall into. Here are steps you can take to free yourself of this fearful mindset. So fear, quote from the Holy Quran, I think. Yeah. So fear Allah as best as you can and listen and obey and spend in his cause. It will be good for yourselves. And whoso is rid of the covetousness. Do you know what that means? I might explain it because I can't pronounce it properly. Covetousness of his own soul, it is they shall be who shall be successful. So covetousness, if you don't know what I'm talking about because I'm not pronouncing it very well, people who are overly attached to material things, to things you can buy. I'm trying to use words that my 8-year-old daughter can use, so I'm trying not to say the word materialism. Anyway, the first step mentioned above is to, so I've just quoted something from the Holy Quran. So fear Allah as best as you can, and listen and obey and spend in His cause. It will be good for yourselves. And whosoever is rid of the covetousness of his soul, it is they who shall be successful. So explaining that quote, the first step mentioned above is to awaken your realization of God as the true provider. We would have no money if the world did not keep producing food and other things we depend on. To snap our minds out of greedily collecting things and not sharing them with our brothers and sisters in our human family, remember God is watching you. God is our true parent and wants us to be nice to each other. By listening to God's advice, which is only for our benefit, we become less self obsessed and keep developing ourselves so that we become more successful. There's quite a lot of information packed in that, probably worth reading in the text summary. It's quite hard to understand. Anyway, last chapter. Obviously, feel free to ask questions, make comments, whatever, but if you don't, I'll try to go into more detail about the things I've just read. So anyway, last chapter, money. I follow a lot of rich people on YouTube, and they say that there is no relationship between wealth and happiness. We know that already because if we think about the things we wanted when we were young, the chances are you have many of those things and they didn't make you happier. You just got used to having those things. What those rich YouTubers say makes them happier is making your life about doing good things. So basically, good things make you happier is what those rich YouTubers say. This has been proved in psychological tests. A great video about this is, quote, How Money Can Buy Happiness, a great TED talk, basically. Prophet Muhammad said, Paradise is the home of the generous. Islam teaches that you should experience paradise in this life and the next. You can do that by being generous with everything that you have, including your time, expertise, and money. It is actually difficult to be rich and happy because having more money gives you more choices, and we are generally bad at making choices without wisdom. Oh, that was nice water. You only, like I was saying, like you enjoy drinking just water when you're really thirsty, but if you're never thirsty, then you don't really enjoy it. Kind of that sort of pain that's good for you that I was mentioning earlier on. It is actually difficult. No, I read that bit already. Yeah. No, okay. Yeah, let's read it again. It is actually difficult to be rich and happy because having more money gives you more choices, and we are generally bad at making choices without wisdom. For example, as Western society gets richer, we have chosen to sit alone in our homes watching Netflix rather than talking to our neighbors. This has resulted in loneliness being the biggest killer in modern Western societies. Does that mean money is bad? No, but it is dangerous for your happiness. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, There are two things a man dreads. First, death, and yet death may be better for him than evil. And secondly, poverty, and yet it may be easier for him to endure than having to account for his wealth. Because when you have wealth, like I say, you make, you know, you're more capable of making more bad choices. And those bad choices, you're going to account for them, like in in the next life, but you account for them in this life as well. You will find ways of making your life miserable. There are plenty of examples of that. Michael Jackson, who else? So many other people like that, right? Okay. If you want to enjoy money, then God teaches, quote, there is no cause for envy, there's no cause for envy except in two cases. A man to whom Allah, that is God, gives wealth and enables him to spend it in support of the truth, and a man to whom God gives wisdom and he rules in accordance with it and teaches it. So, in terms of the wealth bit, if you can get money and spend it on good causes, you're a lucky man. You're a lucky man if you can do that. But don't keep it. So, anyway, let me read from my script. Spend your money on others. Do not hoard it as if you hope your wealth will protect you. Depend on God for that. Being close to the edge keeps you excited, so it is good to keep spending with an open hand. Besides, as you spend on investing in others, I keep changing the sentence so the sentence doesn't make sense. But anyway, when basically as you keep investing on others, when you spend on other poor people, and it's not just giving them money, it's like helping them like run a business or something, right? That's an effective way of making more money, right? But except for you're living on the edge, whereas you keep giving it away, so it's actually more fun that way. And yeah, a good example, kind of, I suppose, is Elon Musk, the richest person in the world. He basically could have sat down comfortably rich after making PayPal, um, but he basically put it all on the line and more. He couldn't even afford rent for his house at one point. Okay, and now he's the richest man in the world, right? Yeah, so it's not a surprise in many ways. Anyway, so that's it. Basically, I'm going to go through all of that in the next half hour. If you got questions, comments, great. If you don't worry. Please just enjoy the show. I'm going to try to explain all the things I just said, but in some more detail. The kind of thing I missed out earlier on was that I don't expect many people to watch the show. No, I explained that already. I just expect the leaders, as it were, to realize the value of what I'm saying. The first thing you must do, I said, if you want to be happy, is realize you've built up many illusions. So we make happiness really difficult for ourselves. We say, if only we had this or that or whatever, then we would be happy. But if we think about it, that's not true, because we've been making these lists since we were young. Like, if I had this, and I'd be happy. And then you have most of those things already, if not all, and more than the things you wished for when you were a child. Yet those things did not make you happy. So just collecting and collecting doesn't make you happy. In fact, it's addictive. It is like an illusion. Sorry, it's like a mirage. Well, a mirage is an illusion, but a mirage is a much more effective description, because when we chase these things we can buy called materialistic things, what we do is we say, if only I had that iPhone. Okay, but the iPhone is in the distance. We haven't quite got it there. We haven't got enough money, but we save up money. We're thinking about the iPhone over there in the shop. We go past the shop, and one day we've got enough money and we buy it, and then we go, oh. And so God describes that as the feeling of nothing. It's a really good description, because as we buy more materialistic things, these things that we try to buy happiness, we become more and more empty. We will remain thirsty. So I love to just reread the amazing quote from the Holy Quran. And as to those who disbelieve, their deeds are like a mirage in the desert. The thirsty one thinks it to be water, until when he comes up to it, he finds it to be nothing. So yeah, there's that. Just trying to think of the things. There's so many things I wrote. When writing it, I often missed out 101 things as well. So as I'm rereading it to myself, it's like, okay, this is something I can explain in more detail. Yeah, so what does it mean when it says, as to those who disbelieve? Why those who disbelieve? Okay, disbelieve in what? Like basically God, right? Okay, so there are two basic paths there. You can't really mix the two paths very well. You're kind of here or you're kind of there. One path is to realize there's a God and you live a life of like, I'm going to do things according to what God expects me because that's going to help me because God is very nice and just wants me to do well. Or you can say, forget this God business. I'm going to buy my way to happiness, right? So if you're the kind of person who disbelieves in God and therefore you chose option 2, which is I'm going to buy my way to happiness, then that mentality is going to end up in lots of trouble because you can't buy your way into happiness. You just buy one thing, realize it doesn't make you happy, and then you buy the next and then the next and the next, and it will just keep going forever until one day you're dead and you realize, like the beautiful quote from that General Alexander the Great. People don't like people saying that he's the great. Okay, I'm not getting into that, right? Because he murdered a lot of people and is pretty crazy, right? But he's called Alexander the Great, who owned most of the known world at his time. So basically, he owned the world as far as he knew it, basically. And when he died on his last breaths, he realized it was so pointless because he realized he's not going to take it anywhere. He's collected all this stuff, but now he's going to die and he can't take it anyway. He can't take it to the next life or anything like that. And basically, it didn't really make him happy either. And so he said, when I die, when I'm taken in my coffin, keep my hands hanging out so people remember that when you die you come into this world empty-handed and you leave this world empty-handed. Some people say this is not true, but it's too good. It's hard to make up fake things, I would say, in my opinion. There's nothing as amazing as reality. And he said all sorts of other things, but I can't remember them quite. Yeah, what else? Yep. So, what is the alternative? This is some really deep stuff I said in like one few sentences. It's probably hard to absorb. So it says, what is the alternative to this endless cycle, often known as the hedonic cycle? I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, means basically chasing wealth, never ending chase of wealth. Okay, so what is the alternative? To accept the answer is to accept the true nature of what makes us happy. So understand what really makes you happy, not this materialistic stuff, which you know it doesn't make you happy because you've got loads of evidence that it doesn't make you happy. So first of all, accept the true nature of what makes you happy. And how would you know what that is? Okay, that itself is based on the true nature of reality. So what really makes us happy depends on what is reality. And what is reality? All of this, you're not going to take it with you, like the pharaohs tried to. You're not going to take it with you when you die. You're going to collect it. You could be the richest man in the grave, but it won't do you any good. So what do? You realize the long-term picture, okay? And that is, well, you might not realize or accept that there's an afterlife, and that's, I could talk about that for a few minutes, I suppose, some sort of evidence for that. But even in this life, once you realize you're going to die, you're not going to take it with you, whether you believe in God or not. Well, if you don't believe in God, nothing makes sense. And I was an atheist for a bit, and nothing made sense. Like, there was no point. Became more destructive as an atheist. And you say, oh, that's just you. There are all these wonderful atheists, whatever, in the world. I question that, because just logically, it doesn't make sense, right? If there's no meaning to your life, you're going to grab whatever you can. It's not being mean to atheists. It's just being logical. Can we just be logical? Hopefully we can, right? That's all that makes sense. And I think that's the reality of what I've seen, despite people saying, oh, I'm so nice and I'm an atheist. Actually, you're nice to a very limited sense, I would say, and that was the same true of me. Okay, so and it's just a very reasonable thing to say what I'm saying, not anti anybody really. Okay, so nothing makes sense unless it is to be at one with God. Okay, what does that mean, even to be at one with God? It's a shorthand to say that whatever God wants of you, you are going to do that. There is no difference between God's will, and your will, as it were, because you have let go of your egotistical choices. That's a pretty good idea, to get rid of egotistical choices. Our ego makes us do such stupid things. Like, if you don't know the answer, but you've got a massive ego, you pretend to know the answer, and then you don't learn anything and you make loads of mistakes. And that's incredibly common. As we get older, we refuse to learn. There's a top psychologist said that after 15 years of age, we basically don't grow. Okay, because we just get stuck into our views, and like, that totally makes sense to me. I'm a school teacher, and I know, like, by when you're 15 years old, you're told what to do, and you're told when you're wrong, and you have to accept it. Otherwise, you don't get your basic, your you don't pass your exams, your basic exams, and things like that. And then after that, you start having choices, and you decide to leave if you don't like it, and things like that, right? And then we stop growing as well, pretty much all of us. Growing means not changing our pure point of view. So if you believe in God, you refuse to even consider the fact that God might not exist. Yeah, sure, I believe in God. I used to be an atheist. I'm happy to entertain the idea that God doesn't exist. Go for it. Yeah, even though God is constantly in my life, and but even from a logical point of view, it's very hard to argue that God does not exist. You might say, oh no, there's all these scientists who don't believe in God. Well, there's lots of evidence to say God exists, and scientists are human beings, and they can be egotistical and stick to their guns even though they know something is not true. But anyway, let's go to the next thing. Traveler. I don't mind the noise here. So we've got people who rent the kind of the basement of the house, or the lower floor of the house, and they're kids. Let them enjoy themselves. This is the time when Arabs enjoy themselves at night time. The weather is beautiful at this time. It's just too hot during the day to play outside, really, especially for little kids, which they are. Okay, so yeah, absolutely massive ants that come out at this time, about that big. How big? Where's the camera? There you go. Huge. All right. Anyway, be a traveler. So all of these things I'm talking about are to get you out of the mindset that happiness is difficult. So the first thing was, you are the once. Your wants are different to needs. You don't need many things to be happy. You barely need to eat to be happy. In fact, you're happier when you eat less, because when you eat too much, it numbs the feelings. Again, this is psychologists talk about it. I should have maybe Googled it, but I probably won't bother YouTubing it. There's one of the top TED Talks are about being open to. I could YouTube in a second, but one of the top TED Talks talk about this thing, that people numb their feelings by filling themselves up all the time. Okay, Saleh, behave. It's my son breaking something. Okay, he says no when I just saw him break something. Anyway, so as I was saying, people make their lives really difficult by having these things called wants. These are different to needs. Needs, you need very little. Wants are unending if you want, and those dreams, supposed dreams, become your nightmares. Okay, don't make your dreams come. Doesn't mean, this is something I should explain. It doesn't mean you don't try to achieve big goals. Let me explain how those two different ideas are compatible. So I want to become a billionaire. I have a daily YouTube series where I talk about this, right? And I want to do that by making a artificial intelligence teacher. That's what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm a teacher, school teacher, private, whatever, tutor, but I'm also a programmer. And I'm making this thing where it basically teaches better than teachers can. I know the 101 problems in teaching. I've worked here in Jordan, I've worked in England, loads of politics, and it's not good for the students, and pretty terrible systems out there. Okay, so basically this app that I'm making will provide one-to-one teaching for people. So why am I talking about it? It's just to give you an idea of what I want to do. Something big is what I'm trying to say, right? But I don't care if it fails. You see, like, when you're trying to help somebody, say there's an old person, and say, "Oh, can I help you with those bags?" And the old person said, "No, no, no, I don't want to help you. Don't help me." He swears at you or something. Right? Okay, I offered my help, so I'm offering my help to the world. If it doesn't take it, maybe I'll, put it on the internet, and maybe sometime in the future somebody else will learn. Okay, and again, this is not just me. Loads of people think like that. Einstein thought like that. He said, "I just want to make the world a little bit better." You know, um, who else was it? Steve Jobs. I just want to make a dent in the universe, a small, change in the universe, so that after I'm gone, the world is a better place. Elon Musk's, again, what was it? He basically gave up all his wealth to do these crazy projects. I'm not necessarily a big fan of everything these people have done. They've all got their flaws. I've got my flaws as well. Anyway, we still try to make the world a better place. We don't need to be addicted to it, though. We don't need to say, if I make the world a better place, then I'll be happy. I think then you're really confused. It's like, if I help that old man with his bags or something, his shopping or something, then I'll be happy. That's a bit weird. Like, you just offer your help. If he takes it, he takes it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. You had the intention of doing the right thing, and that's where it stops. Okay. So, and by the way, it's not easy. Well, it's not easy to make the app that I'm making. I'm sacrificing a huge amount of money and other things to do this app. I'm sacrificing short-term money in favor of doing this app, so the world becomes a better place. But I'm happier that way. As long as you're doing something that is good every day, and that's one of the things I do that is good every day, then you're going to be a happier person, and you're going to make the world a better place. But if people only think about the short term, then we'll still be cave people. Like, forget about finding better ways of making fire. Let's just stick with a flint. You know, then the world won't be a better place. Yeah, and the world is much more exciting when we try to make a difference, whether we fail or not. I suppose that I could, got time to chill out and go into all sorts of tangents. Elon Musk says he would hate for anybody. He does not recommend anybody be him because he is addicted to, you could say, making the world a better place, but his life doesn't have meaning unless he's inventing. So I would not recommend his way of thinking, even though he's made a lot of changes. But I would say the world could produce loads of Elon Musks, or even half Elon Musk, but 1,000 of them. Okay, if we were just good people. So what has Elon Musk done, for example? He's reinvented the electric car, which I think existed before petrol cars. But these big companies, these car companies have been around for over 100 years, okay, refused to make the world a better place. They were corrupt. They were bad people, basically. Okay, what was wrong with them? So if people were just better people, then you wouldn't need one Elon Musk to fix all these different problems. And he's a bit crazy in his own way, right? I would say, you know, I'm not sure about living on Mars. Living on Mars, yeah, I get what he's saying because he doesn't believe in God, so he thinks the world might end in any moment. So it's all up to us to figure it out and not wait for a meteorite to crash on here on planet Earth like it did before. Anyway, could talk about that at some point. There is a chapter called technology, and technology doesn't happen by accident. We will talk about that at some point. But anyway, traveler, I think. Be a traveler in this world. So one of the many ideas that come to my mind when I'm a traveler. So I've come here. And so I suppose there's different kinds of travelers, but there's a specific kind of traveler described in the words of Prophet Muhammad, person who travels light. So I travel light. I take very little. I let my family take more stuff, random stuff. In fact, we go out of our way as a family to take stuff for other people, lots of really heavy stuff for other people. Just use up our allowance, that's fine. Great. The more generous you are, the happier you're going to be. Just serve people. Yeah. So if you're that kind of person, you're going to be really excited because you're not focused on collecting. Collecting is a never-ending delusion. You just keep collecting. Collecting is a never-ending addiction, I should say, and a delusion, of course. The mirage that I described earlier on in the Holy Quran, right? The Holy Quran described earlier on. Okay, so if you're living simply, living light, you just get to enjoy life. But the people who are collectors, they also become people with huge egos. They collect stuff and they realize it doesn't make them happy, but then they have to show other people that they are happy with all those things. Hey, check out my stuff. And they're probably disappointed that the people are not as impressed as they would like, because if you're so desperate for somebody else to be impressed by what you have, you're really empty. So there's no level of other people's adoration that's going to fill that emptiness. So it's never going to be enough. They're never going to be, yeah. So live life, live light, and therefore you'll really live life. Stop spending your time. There's a famous sentence goes, there's people who do work they hate to buy stuff they don't care about to impress people who they don't love, or something like that, right? Just a whole massive waste of time. If you live life, live light, I don't try to buy things unnecessarily. Then you don't need to show off. You don't need to do jobs that you don't want to do and stuff like that. And yeah, so that's live life like a traveler. In fact, I want to. One thing I breezed over was a quote, one of the quotes I read earlier on, which is absolutely beautiful. The example of this world and myself is that of a rider who seeks shade under a tree, then he moves on and leaves it behind. So you kind of have to appreciate or envisage what was just said there. It's like you're a rider, as in you're racing through this world. You know you're not going to be here long, right? And then you don't look for comfort. You look just enough for shade, and you lie down under that shade for a little bit of time, really uncomfortable, but you don't care because you get to enjoy the sights of the world. There's a lot of things packed in these descriptions that can be missed if you don't think about it. So you sit under the tree. You don't need to be comfortable. In fact, the people who are happiest are the ones who are not comfortable. Let's think about, you go to the beach. Do you say the person on the beach who's wearing a suit and smart shoes and a tie really tight, and lots of, on a really hot beach, is he the happy person? Or is the person who is the happy person the one with no shoes, looking scruffy on the beach? Which one's the happier person? It's a great metaphor for life. The person who needs to be stuck up and wear tight clothes and clothes they hate wearing, often known as a rat suit. The suit is called a rat suit because it's a rat race. You must have heard of the phrase, right? Do you want to live the rat race, or do you want to be chilled out and have fun? Choose. Okay. Another 9 minutes with you, eh? Hopefully you're enjoying this. Those kids sound like they're enjoying themselves, eh? Not showing off, just enjoying themselves with some sort of remote control car. So don't look into the camera, don't ruin it. Okay, we don't see you. Okay. Okay. So there's 8 minutes left. Is that what you want to know? Nobody's watching, don't worry. Okay. Nobody ever watches this, right? Okay. So I suppose this is the important thing to talk about. So I talked about a kind of materialism is to say how many people, your view count, how many people are watching it, how many subscribers do you have, all this kind of stuff. That's you chasing, trying to get gratification from some sort of external thing, like, oh, if I've got this many views, people, then I'll be happy with myself. But that's not where happiness lies. I'll do this for one person who wants to change their life. That's much better than a million people who are like, in a lot of videos, hey, yeah, you're like, okay, so I could be, for example, showing Islam is the best, right? Islam, the religion, is the best, and people go, yeah, Islam is the best. But then those people who are saying Islam is the best, they don't change their lives. So what's the benefit? What's the real benefit? And I will know, like, it made no difference. But even if I don't hear, often I do get feedback in different ways, but even if I don't hear of somebody telling me how it's changed their life, because that necessarily could be false anyway. They could be saying, you changed my life, because they're just trying to be nice, and it doesn't change their life. Who knows, right? But if I'm doing, and this is what I'm actually doing right now in these shows, the reason why I'm extra excited about it is because I think this format of show is going to be less popular, but it's more true. to the message I want to give. It's 100% about what I think is the truth, rather than what I do in the have been doing is I get somebody else to join the show, and then I get different people, hopefully draw attention from other people from different backgrounds. So they might be interested in Buddhism. So Buddhists might listen to what I'm going to say, because normally Buddhists won't listen to anything to do with Islam. People who are Muslims might not be interested in anything to do with Buddhism, and atheists are in their own camp and all this kind of stuff. So I try to get people from different camps together. But I'm not 100%, I'm only 30% of the time talking and making a difference. And I'm bringing more value by making a series, a well thought out series of everything you need to do to be happy. But that sounds more dull, because it sounds more like school, and people don't want that. That's fine with me, because I feel better that I'm doing something that is better. And whether people accept it or not, that's fine. That is absolutely the nature of spiritual work. That one, nobody will care most of the time. Like, think of Prophet Jonah, who like was told by God to go to this town and tell them about me and how to make your life better. And God, Prophet Jonah said, I know these people, they don't give anything, right? And that's the reality of today's world. If I want to get more views, I need to be a girl doing rude stuff, right? Okay, that's the nature of people at the moment, right? But I don't want to get more views, cheap views like that, and make the world a worse place than it already is, and people doing more bad things and getting addicted to bad things and whatever, and though having lower standards in their lives and making their own lives difficult and miserable because of it. I don't want to participate in that. I'm much happier having one view, and I get more than one view, but I'm much happier having one view and making a difference. Okay, and that's just the nature of it. So Prophet Jonah went to the town, and he like ran away from that town. I said, I know these people, they don't want to listen. Okay. And our current reformer, so the Quran says for every people and every time there's a prophet to guide us, right? And we were promised a reformer in all the different religions. In Christianity, we were told that Jesus would come back. In Prophet Buddha said he would come back. Prophet Krishna said he would come back. All said they would come back at these latter days. So there was Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, who I quoted from his book Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam, and he said that a warner came to the world, but nobody accepted him, but God has accepted him. That's all that matters. Okay, so, and of course, God will make these things successful. It's inevitable that these truths that I'm talking about are going to um, succeed. It's common sense. It's all, you could say it's common sense on one hand, because what I'm saying is logical and cannot be denied. Like, you can have a logical argument, and you will not be able to disprove anything that I'm saying on this show, right? So inevitably it's true, but also the real reason for it, the reason why it's inevitable, is because God has given many prophecies that the sun will rise from the west, meaning that people will, and there's a longer many prophecies relating to it and things like that, but basically saying that the truth of Islam is going to spread throughout the whole world, and it's already the fastest growing religion in the world. So anyway, it's going to happen, and I'd love to be a tiny part of that success, of that beautiful future, even if we have to go through some hardships on the way. Like, unfortunately, it looks like we're going towards a third world war. We keep kind of knocking on that door, and part of this is to maybe stop that happening or having less bad effects, but just doing whatever I can. So hopefully you enjoy the show. catch you next week. How many seconds have I got? Let's look at the time. Yeah, 20 seconds. So anyway, thank you very much for watching the show. All those people do. So I think about 30 odd people watched the show last week, which is fantastic. If I imagine 30 people around me listening, spending time listening to this stuff, that's fantastic. That's brilliant. Hopefully, even if one person listened throughout the whole thing and actually acted on it and changed their life, then as the Bible and the Quran say, um, if you save one life, it is like saving the whole world. And if you kill one person, it's like killing the whole world. So if I save one person, make one life better, that's fantastic. Thanks for watching. Peace be upon you.